Hello explorers, thanks for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we want to thank you for watching. In this episode, I'll be diving into Chinese historical presence in the continent of Africa. I'll be looking at strategic options, why China has made Africa its main focus with regards to geopolitical issues, investment, trade, collaboration, win-win partnership. I will be looking at some more detailed research with regards to this particular relationship, why China has seen Africa as an opportunity that needs to be grabbed, and Africa's geopolitical partners have seen the continent as a problem to be solved. In this episode, I will be diving into information like never before seen. If you like content like this, I will appreciate if you smash the like button and share the video. So without any much delay, let's just dive straight into it. Over the last 5 decades, no country has gone through more changes than China. From a marginal actor and the least developed country to the largest economy in the world in purchasing power parity, the PPP terms, China's path to relevance and great power status is an irreversible reality, as we all have seen. Throughout this period, Chinese presence in Africa has grown from minor reliance to a continental's largest trading partner, with expectation of more, mainly due to the Belt and Road Initiative known as the BRI. Thousands of Chinese companies have settled and also are operational in the continent of Africa, with entrepreneurship growth in China and in the continent of Africa as well. The growing Chinese presence in Africa is not unnoticed. Africa has also become a territory where the clash between great powers, particularly the United States of America and China, is also observed, including Russia and also the European Union, including other Asian partners. There is much negative campaigning against China without considering the possibility that China's African partnership has already generated such allegations, repeated and usual criticism against Chinese neo-colonialism, debt trapping and also corruption, employment of Chinese workers, and also disregard for local human rights violations. To address such issues, China has embraced several programs and also to counteract anti-China sentiments and also stimulate Chinese firms and also into positive action. If you look at strategic options as geopolitics takes hold, Beijing has been actively modifying its approach to retaining its African foothold, particularly considering that African countries have been eager to explore new development model based on local know-how, innovations, and human capital. China has also been learning about the internal politics of African countries and has been limiting its exposure level to possible default or instability derived from unstable domestic situation. If you look at the strategic move with regards to China's presence in the continent of Africa, one of the main arguments against the Chinese presence in Africa is that maybe implementing a new form of neo-colonialism. Accusation against China also alleged dominance over African natural resources. The neo-colonialism is an indirect form of control exerted by powers countries that use for their own benefits, cultural, economic, and also political power to exploit the labor and also resources of colonial countries. If you look at other options, these may include controls through financial agreements, investment strategies, debt trapping, and unfair investment policy, mostly leading to an increasing dependency through unequal trade and exploration of resources, including biodiversity. Political pressure is exercised by interfering in domestic affairs to promote the colonizer's security, interest, and also the needs. Additionally, neo-colonialism may include imposing cultural values or political ideology onto the colonized nation, thus undermining the indigenous culture, values, and also identity. As China continues to move in the continent of Africa, China has faced increasing accusation about its intentions in Africa. Those focus particularly on Chinese interest in securing access to resources, trade, and also military alliance and bases in the region. China's involvement in the countries with weak governance has also fostered anti-Chinese sentiment and opposition. Backlash have erupted, provoking accusation of neo-colonialism and also resource exploration. To both claims, China has reaffirmed its commitment to never monopolize its land and access to economic growth opportunities, and to modernization as a means to secure common prosperity to reach development. China has helped build much needed infrastructure in Africa, positively impacting the outcome of goods and services. Despite some countries still facing domestic governance and corruption challenges, China has invested heavily in the continent of Africa to expand the reach of its soft power, diplomatic influence, infrastructural development initiatives to consolidate its interests and also presence. China, however, has not imposed its governance model on any of the countries in Africa. It has maintained an active relationship with the continent of Africa. Through this process, China has become Africa's largest trading partner, accounting for more than $280 billion in trade looking at figures of 2022. Approximately 16% of Africa's total manufacturing imports come from China in 2018, a shift in a continent that is heavily dependent on Europe. 25 economic and trade cooperation zones have been created with China in 16 African countries. Such zones, registered with Chinese Ministry of Commerce, had attracted 623 businesses, and also with a total investment of over $7.5 billion by the end of 2020 based on figures I see. Such cooperations zones have boosted local industrialization in various sectors, including natural resources, agriculture, manufacturing, and trade logistics. 1/3 of Chinese companies have concentrated on manufacturing, 1/4 of the services, and also around 1/5 on trade, construction, and also real estate. With such initiative, the Chinese footprint has grown to approximately 12% of Africa's industrial output, about over 500 billion annually. As to the infrastructural sector, Chinese companies claim nearly 50% of Africa's contracted and also construction market. Based on the current understanding of neo-colonization and painful Chinese experience with European colonialism, historical memory has been a guiding principle for the Chinese to pursue a different part of relationship in which Africa is not a backyard of Chinese development, subject to this interference in domestic affairs. In this essence, Western countries have attached more political string and exercised greater political influence than China over the domestic affairs of the African people. If you are new here, we encourage you to smash the like button, share the video to improve your geopolitical knowledge in regards to Africa and how Africa interacts with its global partners. Let's go back to the episode. If you look at other strategic options, Africa has received many funds through the Belt and Road Initiative known as the BRI, which aim to create a new geopolitical order that will also re-establish Chinese dominance in Asia and Eurasia. Though highly criticized by the United States of America and its other partners, the BRI has been an essential tool of Chinese diplomacy since its launch in 2013. The debt trapping issue, a claim that China luring countries into unsustainable loans to build unnecessary infrastructure and to expand its strategic and military reach, has been repeated in the news media around the world, particularly after the Sri Lanka Habatonta port situation. However, the Sri Lankan default is more related to its economic difficulties associated with lack of tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic than the debt service owed to China. Additionally, the contrary to the argument of Chinese debt trapping, the BRI, an economic project with a financing mechanism, has been recipient driven since its inception, with countries selecting the projects or what will be built under its umbrella. China has appetite for large infrastructural projects because of its history and the fact that other sectors will not provide Chinese companies with identical multiple choices found in other countries. If you look at strategic options in regards to Chinese presence in the continent of Africa, since China does not dictate what is to be built, the BRI project reflects the need and goals of the local government. The problem some of those projects have been presented results from local government challenges that may have adverse economic, environment, and also political implications. Such situations have forced Beijing to alter course and change policies occasionally. However, because of high levels of indebtedness and financial vulnerability in some countries, debt trapping in Africa has been an accusation leveled against China's investment in the continent of Africa. This allegation has been based on China's significant role in providing loans for infrastructural projects under the favorable terms, such as low interest rates and also extended repayment period. Such loans may become economically unviable, leading to debt countries may be unable to pay. Additionally, Western critics have also criticized the lack of transparency of Chinese loans in Africa, with limited accountability and public scrutiny. Three situations are generally referred to when referring to the debt trapping in the continent of Africa: the case of Djibouti, Kenya, and also Zambia. However, if you are also clear and following the news, you will notice that a lot of multinational institutions that are borrowing money to the African continent hold the huge debt of African countries. In the case of currently Kenya and also the country of Ghana, that continue to pay a huge part of the GDP to the multilateral institutions like World Bank, International Monetary Fund. If you put that in parity with regards to China, that provide loans that and infrastructural development that Africa needs, there's something like a day and night. With regards to other options, Africa has decided to make its own choices and the continent has risen in several ways. If you look at other strategic options, as China continues to move, in the case of Djibouti, where China has built the first overseas military base and has invested significantly in the ports and infrastructure, the debt level have increased substantially, leading to concern that eventually China could enhance its influence in the country and affect its sovereignty. In Kenya, China ever-increasing infrastructural investment, notably the Standard Gauge Railway, have faced criticism because of high cost and corruption changes and may lead to country's default. Zambia also received Chinese investment for major infrastructural projects, energy, and transportation because of failing prices in the copper industry, one of Zambia's most important sectors. The possibility of a default could lead to a Chinese takeover of the country's strategic asset. Despite Western allegations of debt trapping, China should not be blamed for the challenges faced by those countries, where economic mismanagement associated with the current unstable geopolitical conditions in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine may have been the most probably cause of the financial difficulties some of those countries are facing. If you look at Chinese option, as the country continues to move in Africa strategically, Chinese loans have provided African countries with the necessary funding to build infrastructure, foster economic growth, main through trade, filling up the financing gap that Western countries have not willing to deal with. Chinese loans have been primarily used to develop Africa's poor infrastructure. About 40% have been utilized for power generation and transmission, and 30% for upgrading outdated transport facilities. Chinese loans have been low interest rate and long repayment period. China has also announced that some least developed countries will be exempted from the outstanding debt. The International Monetary Fund and also World Bank have also played an essential role in providing necessary guidance for responding and also borrowing. However, a number of African nations are owing huge amount of money with regards to those multilateral institutions, as I've pointed out. If you look at other strategic options as we close this episode, the great power competition, a classic aspect of international relations, is brewing in the continent of Africa. It's based on traditional power politics, particularly a permanent contest for supremacy regional and also globally. The issue of great power competition is particularly relevant in the context of Chinese rise and the relatively decline of the United States of America and Russia's resurgence. Three distinct elements: power, security, and status are the most significant stakes in geopolitical competition. Other factors such as neighborhood and also sub-regional may affect the quest for great power status. In Africa, rivalry and competition for influence and resources between the European Union, the United States of America, Russia, and China are occurring, as we all seen. Throughout history, Africa has attracted significant international interest because of its natural resources and economic potential. Additionally, the geopolitical location of Africa is of particular interest since it is the continent best positioned geographically in relation to the larger consumption centers of the world. Africa has different forms than other continents, a positive demographic bonus with a growing consumer market and power. Great power competition in Africa has several positive consequences. African countries have become attractive for foreign debt investment and also due to the demographic bonus, growing economic market, and infrastructural opportunities. China has been very active in the continent of Africa since early 2000. with a growing presence through the BRI focus mainly on ports, railways, energy facilities, and a number of other areas. Military cooperation has also been an area of particular interest, with the United States of America having the most significant military presence in the region. China has been involved in peacekeeping mission in Africa, recently established its overseas military base in the country of Djibouti. Russia, which has been an active presence since the Soviet Union, has also significant cooperation agreement with many African countries. With African abundance in natural resources, oil and gas and mineral resources, and also agricultural commodities, access to such goods has been an essential driver for competition between the great powers. All players, Russia, China, the European Union, and also United States of America, have sought cooperation agreement to secure access to resources and diverse energy sources in regards to the continent of Africa. Diplomatic engagement with Africa has grown. Both China and the United States have launched initiatives to enhance diplomatic cooperation with African countries. China has established the development relevance of the Forum on African-China Cooperation, known as FOCAD, and the United States has also its own framework like the Prospect Africa to promote economic growth and improve governance. China adopts a no-string-attached approach in Africa, with a particular focus on economic development and also infrastructure. While Western countries seek to emphasize governance and human rights, the Chinese strategy has allowed African countries to improve projects, foster to increase current issues, and also tackle recent challenges. If you look at strategic options as we close this episode, African countries can leverage this great power dynamic based on their domestic interests and long-term strategy to attract investment, technology transfer, and more rapid economic development. The effective determination of national interests with the effective strategy should be the main driving force for pushing a thriving situation. Great power competition in Africa reflects the broader global shift in geopolitics and also the geo-economic interest in present opportunity for African nations to benefit from the foreign investment and partnership, but also possess challenges in managing competitive interests and ensuring sustainable development. We want to thank you for watching. Let us know what you think with regards to Africa's strategic move at the moment, how Africa has engaged China, and why China has seen Africa as an opportunity to be grabbed. Leave us a comment, subscribe, share our video with your different network, and smash the like button if you are new here. For now, we are looking forward to meeting you. Keep the conversation going. Have a good day. Bye-bye.